Hi, this is Jack Westman for ESEAnews.com here in Jönköping, Sweden for DreamHack Winter 2013. Joining me this time is the head of eSports, Greykarn, better known as Thomas Hermansson, hopefully pronounced correctly. Yeah. So first of all, just for our viewers, could you kind of tell us your history here at DreamHack, what your job is, basically an overview as to what you do here?
Yeah. Head of eSports basically means I'm in charge of all the tournaments, but nowadays it's actually more media production as well, since every tournament we produce or set up here and organize is broadcasted at Twitch, but also at Swedish television, TV6 and SVT. So, I mean, it's a combination of both running tournaments and taking care of all those aspects, talking to publishers, taking care of sponsors, getting admins, and also being in charge of the media production, since at DreamHack, eSport a little bit decide how to do the media production and not the opposite. So we try to adapt the media production around each game. And I've been at DreamHack for 5 years, I think, full time. So me and 12 others are working full time with DreamHack all year around, and we are running the DreamHack festivals 2 times a year. We're running our international championship, DreamHack Open, which is also in Spain and Romania, and we're also running a Swedish championship called eSports SM, where we also feature Counter-Strike Go, for example. So we run these eSport tournaments yearly, and of course host all the tournaments here at the DreamHack festivals.
Sounds like a fairly stressful job, safe to say. How are you feeling so far? How's it going?
It's definitely our biggest eSport event ever, I think, especially when it comes to media production. We're actually 129 people only working with the media production for eSports, and that's a new record. I think last event we were at 50-60, so we have...
So you've doubled?
Yeah, it's doubled, and it's been very stressful, actually. I mean, we're happy with most of the tournaments, but usually Thursday, which was yesterday, is always bumpy, because it's like when you're producing so many tournaments on a location like this, you get problems, and it's a lot of small things that needs to be addressed every time.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about Counter-Strike, and moving quickly on. So you have the $250,000 prize pool contributed by Valve this time around, which is a first for Valve and the biggest prize pot we've probably seen ever in Counter-Strike. How does it feel to be the first ever beneficiary of Valve's new eSports fund? You know, this is the first tournament they've ever put money into.
I mean, at first it was shocking a little bit, and I mean, we're of course proud and really happy that Valve chose DreamHack Winter. I think one of the reasons was that we were in the end of the year, and we were probably in a good time frame for Valve themselves to do the improvements in the game they needed that needed to be there before doing this. Yeah. But in the end, it's not actually Valve supporting; it's actually the gamers themselves, because they buy these in-game items and support tournaments. So I think I shouldn't speak for Valve here, but I think their goal and what they want to achieve is basically to support much more tournaments than just DreamHack in the future. Yeah. And I think they're moving in a direction to be very more integrated with the community and the eSport community, and I think that's a very, very important step, because CSGO is currently I think it's the best FPS for eSports, definitely much better than all other games, and they're improving with this new features all the time, and it's just getting better and better. And you can see that the growth when it comes to players is increasing by every week. We can see the viewership here at DreamHack is also increasing since the last tournament, so it's getting bigger and bigger for every event.
Okay, well, given that Valve have put so much money, I know it's the players, but Valve channeled it into this event, what kind of control do you retain over the competition, given that they've given you so much money? Do you still get to choose all your own timings, casters, all that kind of stuff, or how much influence did Valve have in the end?
I mean, everything has been, of course, a discussion between us, Valve, and also our main sponsor, SteelSeries. But in the end, it's a DreamHack tournament. We're responsible to pay out the prize money. We're responsible to set up the rules, the tournament. I mean, we take care and responsibility of the tournament, and it's a DreamHack tournament. But I think for every game we host, we have a close partnership or discussion with the publisher, how we should present it, how we should do it. We try to keep them updated what we're planning all the time. But in the end, I don't think Valve is more focused on doing the best possible esport game and do that, and DreamHack wants to host the best possible tournament. So we have a little bit two different approaches to this.
Okay. Well, it seems to be going well so far for you both, for everybody. You alluded to production values earlier on. You say you've doubled your media crew this time around. Obviously, you're pulling 60 to 70,000 viewers, so there was a lot of pressure riding on this event, almost a lot of eyeballs on this. How do you go about putting together the casting team? What's your criteria for selecting? Because you've got some real talent this year. You know, you've got Tommy Lurpis, Thorin, Sir Scoots, flying people in from the States.
Yep.
What kind of decision goes into that? Thought goes into that decision?
To a little bit give you some background, I think that the most important thing was to decide how to make a media production around CS, and I think our first decision was basically we will not do a stage show for the group stage, because FPS and especially CS is time consuming when it comes to setup times, configuration, changing computers and all that. So we actually built a kind of standard tournament area where we can have 4 teams at the same computers for the whole group stage. And then when we started to discuss the media production around that, we were really determined to have different sets, basically divide in-game and the stuff we're doing between games. So we created this studio with BSL, Sir Scoots and Thorin, and I think it's working really well because they have a different approach than regular casters in CS, because they are more into like only talking about the teams, only talking about maybe the game and the match itself. And these guys can more focus on the context and the tournament as a whole, and DreamHack, CSGO, and like basically give more insight to every viewer, what's on stake, what's happening, stuff like that. So that was really important. So one important thing was actually to get a lot of casting talent in this production, because we feel that CS really deserves it, and there haven't been a day 9 in CS, for example. There haven't been of course Anders Blom has a huge community following, and some other casters as well, but they don't have the same impact as maybe day 9 or Husky or someone like that. So we're trying to have a lot of casters and trying to give them different positions in the productions. For example, Thorin is a database when it comes to Counter-Strike and can give you all the background stories. On the other hand, I think Stuart and Corey Dunn is really good play-by-play casters. So trying to find the different positions.
Okay, reconcile everybody's talent with one another. Just jumping back to something you said at the beginning of that, you say, there's always delays in these tournaments. You kind of designed it so it wouldn't be on a stage to accommodate those. Are delays just a fact of life with esports? Because you've had some here already.
Not with esports, but with FPS. And in particular Counter-Strike a little bit. It doesn't matter if it's CSGO, 1.6, Source. We've been hosting all those tournaments. Yeah. And of course, we're addressing all the time to have the best possible computers, to have backup PCs, to have all that all the time. We're currently trying to improve everything, or we're trying to improve every tournament. But it seems I've been involved in probably 20 to 30 professional Counter-Strike tournaments, both 1.6 and Go and Source. Yeah. And it seems that we always have the same problems. Like there's a spike lag, or there's something with the computer, or it's something that's not working. So you have to replace PCs all the time. You have to have at least 10 to 20 backups. And I'm not saying it can't be addressed. I'm just saying, wise of experience or what I've learned, that we will probably get this in the future as well.
It's just a Counter-Strike issue.
Yeah, Dota and StarCraft, League of Legends, it seems that it's actually easier. I'm not sure what it is, but in a game like Counter-Strike, sensitivity is really important on your mouse sensitivity. The drivers, the graphical experience, the exact FPS is really important. The hertz on the screen. Yeah. It's a very, very skillful game. I mean, you really need to have the best conditions to play at your. I mean, I think, of course, StarCraft and League of Legends players demand that kind of setup as well, but it's not really the same thing. No.
Okay. Well, speaking of the talent involved in Counter-Strike, some teams qualified for this event directly, others were invited. What's the kind of decision-making process behind which teams get invited? Do you focus on getting international teams, or do you go for skill alone? What's the process behind it?
It's been a discussion with a lot of people involved. So it's the admins. It's also a lot of people that we're contacting, asking for advice. But in general, setup is that all the winners from previous DreamHack tournaments, DreamHack Summer, DreamHack Bucharest, DreamHack Valencia was invited. Then we had a few slots for open qualifiers, and had I think 6 slots for the remaining teams to be invited. And we gave some priority, especially to US teams like Complexity and
iBuyPower.
Exactly.
Yep.
Just to get this event, get the attention in US, but also to have the players from the American scene here. It's hard for them to play the qualifiers either in Europe or here on site. So that was definitely one thing. But I think in the end we try to have the best teams here, and I haven't seen that many comments about the lineup actually, that we are missing a few teams or we invited the wrong teams or something like that. We have Mystic here, the ESWC champions. They're knocked out already, but we have Veru Games here, we have NIP, we have most Astana Dragons, which is a little bit on fire as well. So I think it's about inviting the best teams, and it feels that the Asian scene is still a little bit behind. It's not like 1.6 where the Chinese teams actually were really good, at least on home soil.
Right. Are you keeping an eye on Asia with a view to inviting teams for future events?
We actually discussed that a lot, but I felt that it was more forcing a Chinese flag into the tournament and maybe have the best team lineup in the end. And it works like this: we don't provide travel or accommodation, so the teams need to organize that themselves. So I think it's a little bit tricky for those organizations to actually go to Sweden and play this tournament as well.
Okay. Penultimate question before I let you go. This is the biggest, well, it looks likely to be the biggest viewer count we've had for Counter-Strike in a very long time. We were up to something like 60 or 70,000 yesterday. The grand final, people are expecting to be through the roof. Do you think this bodes well for the future of Counter-Strike as an esport?
Absolutely, and I hope we really reach 100K this event. I think CSGO, it feels that the momentum is now when it comes to both viewership and the growth, the player base, and with all these patches and features that's coming all the time, the in-game items, all that, it feels that there's a very positive momentum right now for CSGO. And I'm not sure what we can achieve in the future, but it feels that it's definitely the best FPS game when it comes to esports, in my opinion. Right. We of course have Quake Live here as well. We have Battlefield, but I think CSGO is the best game right now.
Okay. And has been for a long time, of course.
Yeah, 1.6 was my favorite game, but I think CSGO has such great esport features now, so it's by far better than 1.6, especially when it comes to esport tournaments.
Okay. Well, last but not least, before I let you go, what is your favorite esport? What is your tournament of choice here at DreamHack?
I mean, I'm a Counter-Strike player from the beginning. I played myself 2003.
But you're here in a StarCraft t-shirt, I note.
StarCraft t-shirt. I mean, I think we have the best lineups in StarCraft. We definitely have some of the best players here. We have the BlizzCon champion. In Quake Live, we have a lot of cool old school players like Cypher, Cooler, Evil, Toxic. And Street Fighter, we have Daigo the Beast, which is one of the most famous Street Fighter players in the world. So I think overall this is the best player lineup we had over all games. So my favorite tournament in the end, I think it's Quake Live actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't feel obligated to say Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
Okay, Greykarn, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. And for everybody at ESEA.net and ESEAnews.com, stay tuned to the website throughout the weekend for the rest of the coverage of DreamHack Winter 2013.